It was a normal night. I had just gotten home from work maybe around 7 p.m. Nothing unusual. I was in the kitchen making a simple dinner, just a chicken breast and some frozen corn. As I drained the water from the corn, I heard it. A scraping sound. It was quick, quiet, but wrong. The kind of sound that doesn't belong. I froze for a second, then shook it off. Houses make weird noises sometimes, right? So I kept cooking. But then it came again. Same sound. Scraping. Dragging. Almost like something moving across wood. Now it had my attention. I finished plating my food quickly and walked toward the front door, trying to listen more carefully. Nothing. Just silence. So I went back to eat. At that point, I wasn't scared, just curious and slightly annoyed. A few minutes later, I sat on the couch and turned on Netflix. But the sound didn't stop. Over and over. That same scraping noise. Eventually, it got so irritating I turned off the TV completely and just sat there, listening. That's when I realized it was coming from upstairs. I went up immediately, still thinking maybe something was wrong with the house. But now, a little more uneasy. At the top of the stairs, I stood still waiting. Nothing. A full minute passed, so I started checking rooms. Everything looked normal. Nothing broken. Nothing out of place. Now I was confused and a little worried. I decided to go outside. Maybe a tree branch was scraping against the house. It was dark, but I walked around to the side where a tree stood. No wind. Branches weren't even close to the wall. That didn't make sense. I stood there for a moment, trying to figure it out. Then I saw something. A faint light. I turned toward the house. The light was coming from the attic window, and it was moving, slowly, like someone holding a flashlight. My stomach dropped. Someone was in my attic. I didn't know who. I didn't know how long, but they were there. I called the police immediately, standing in the driveway, staring up at that window. The light kept moving, back and forth. Then suddenly, it pointed directly at me and stayed there for a few seconds before shutting off. Right after that, loud thuds from inside the house. I ran straight to my neighbor's yard, trying to explain everything to the operator while shaking. From outside, the house looked calm, quiet. But that made it worse, because I knew something had just been inside. When the police arrived, they searched the house. Then, the attic. They found footprints, multiple, but no one was there. They told me it was probably just teenagers messing around, trying to scare me. They said they likely climbed onto the roof, got in through the attic window, and left through the house. But that didn't make me feel better, because that meant they were inside for hours while I was home, and I had no idea. Story 2. The Open Door. When I was 15, my family moved into a small house in a forest. It was isolated. Quiet. Too quiet. That same summer, my dog Max died. He had been my best friend for years, and suddenly I was alone. Truly alone. A week later, my parents went to work like usual. I stayed home. The house layout was simple living room, then a long hallway with bedrooms. Every day I had a habit. I closed every door in that hallway. I don't know why. Open doors just made me uncomfortable. That morning, I did the same thing. Closed every door, especially my parents' room at the end. I even double-checked it, made sure it clicked shut. Then I went to my room, put on headphones, watched YouTube for about 2 hours. Around 9 a.m., I got up to make breakfast, opened my door, stepped into the hallway, and froze. My parents' bedroom door was wide open. I just stood there, staring, because I knew I had closed it. There was no doubt. That's when it hit me. Someone might be in the house. I moved slowly, quietly, checking every room, heart pounding. I grabbed a steak knife from the kitchen. It didn't make me feel safe, but it was something. One by one, I checked the rooms. Nothing, until I reached my parents' bedroom. I stood at the doorway, too scared to go in, too scared not to. Finally, I stepped inside, looked around. Empty. Checked under the bed. Nothing. Then a sound behind me. The bathroom door. Closed, but I could hear movement inside. Fast. Panicked. I froze, watching the shadow under the door. Listening. Then a final thud. Footsteps. Running. Out the window. I opened the bathroom. The window was wide open. Someone had been in there, watching me. They found footprints all over the house later, but nothing was stolen. That made it worse, because it meant they weren't there to take anything. Story 3. The message. I'm 24 now, and I thought things like this only happened in movies. It was a Friday night. I came home, made dinner, and watched a movie. At some point, I fell asleep on the couch. Then, my phone woke me up. A notification sound I didn't recognize. It was a message from Facebook. A man. Someone I barely knew. He just said, "Hello." I replied politely. "Hi." He responded instantly. "I love that movie too. We should watch it together." My blood ran cold because I hadn't told him what I was watching. I slowly turned and looked at the window. Dark, nothing there. Then my phone buzzed again, and again, and again. Messages flooding in, telling me to open the door. Then the last message. Never mind. A loud bang came from the basement. He wasn't outside. He was already inside. I locked myself in my room and called 911, crying, shaking, listening as he moved through the basement, up the stairs, closer. The basement door shook violently. He tried to force it open. Then, 3 loud knocks. Police open up. I ran to the door. Let them in. They caught him in the basement. It was him, the same man from Facebook. He said he just wanted to talk. I deleted everyone I didn't know after that, because now I understood something. You don't need to invite someone into your house for them to find their way in. When I was 15, my family moved into a small house deep in a forest. It was quiet. Too quiet. No neighbors nearby. No sounds at night except wind through the trees. At first, it felt peaceful, but after a while, it started to feel isolating. That same summer, my dog Max passed away. He had been with me for years, always by my side. And just like that, the house felt different, empty. A week later, my parents went back to work. I stayed home alone. For the first time ever, completely alone. No dog, no noise, just silence. The house layout was simple. Front door led into the living room and kitchen. Then a long hallway. 2 rooms on the side. My parents' bedroom at the very end. I developed a habit. Every morning, I walked down that hallway and closed every single door. I didn't like seeing them open. It gave me a strange feeling, like something could be watching from inside. That morning was no different. I went down the hall, closed the first door, then the second, then my parents' room. I pulled it shut, started walking away, but something felt off. I didn't hear the click, so I turned back, pulled it harder this time, and heard it clearly. Click, closed. Locked in place. I went back to my room, closed my door, put on headphones, and got lost watching YouTube. Time passed. About 2 hours. It was around 9 a.m. when I got up to eat something. I took off my headphones, opened my door, and stepped into the hallway. That's when I noticed it. Out of the corner of my eye, I turned my head slowly and froze. The door at the end of the hallway was wide open. Not slightly open, not cracked, wide, open. My heart dropped instantly because I knew I had closed it. I had checked it twice. I stood there for what felt like forever, not moving, not breathing, just staring, listening, waiting for any sound, any movement, nothing. But that silence, it wasn't comforting. It felt wrong, because if someone was in there, they knew I was here now. And they were staying quiet. That thought hit me hard. I slowly stepped into the living room, turning my head constantly, checking every corner, every shadow. My chest was tight, breathing shallow. I made my way into the kitchen, opened a drawer, and grabbed a large steak knife. It didn't make me feel safe. but it made me feel less helpless. I checked the living room. Nothing. Dining area. Nothing. Then I stood at the hallway again, facing that open door. I didn't want to go down there. Every instinct told me not to, but I had to know, step by step. I moved forward. First room. I opened it slowly. The door creaked loudly. I flinched, waited, listened. Nothing. Inside, everything was exactly the same, untouched. I backed out, closed the door. Now only one room left, my parents' bedroom. The door was still wide open, like it was waiting. I stood at the entrance, only able to see part of the bed, the rest hidden behind the wall. I tightened my grip on the knife, my hand shaking. "Hello," I called out. My voice didn't sound like mine. Weak, uncertain, no response. I took a step inside, then another, slowly revealing more of the room. Nothing. It looked empty. I checked under the bed, dropped to my knees, looked carefully. Nothing there. I stood back up, walked around the bed. That's when I saw it. A small patch of dirt on the floor, fresh. My heart started racing faster because that didn't belong there. And then a sound behind me, a soft thud. I spun around instantly, knife raised. The bathroom door closed. But now I could hear movement inside, fast, panicked, like someone scrambling. And I saw it, a shadow, under the door, moving. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Seconds felt like minutes. Then a loud thud, followed by footsteps. Running, away. I rushed forward, grabbed the handle, threw the door open. The bathroom was empty, but the window was wide open. Cold air rushed in. Curtain, moving slightly. Someone had just climbed out. Someone had been inside that room, watching me, listening to me. The entire time, I slammed the window shut, locked it, then ran back to my room, hands shaking as I grabbed my phone. I didn't call the police right away. I don't know why. Maybe I was in shock. Maybe I didn't want it to be real. Instead, I called my parents. They called the police and rushed home. When the police arrived, they found footprints, dirt, across the house, everywhere, except my room, which meant they had been inside, walking around, while I was there, and they never made a sound. Nothing was stolen, not a single thing, and somehow that made it worse, because it meant they weren't there to take anything. They were there for something else, and I was the only one home. I'm 24 now, and I used to think things like this only happened in movies. It was a normal Friday night. I got home from work, made dinner, and sat on the couch to watch something. Around 8 p.m., I turned on a movie. At some point, I fell asleep. I don't know how long I was out, but I woke up suddenly to a sound I didn't recognize. My phone. It lit up the room. A notification from Facebook Messenger. That alone was strange. I barely even used it. I picked up my phone, still half asleep, opened the message. Hello. It was from a man. His name looked slightly familiar, but I couldn't place it. I checked his profile. We had one mutual friend. Apparently, I had accepted his request months ago. I didn't think much of it, so I replied, "Hi." Almost instantly, he started typing. Then a message came through. "I love that movie too. We should watch it together." Everything inside me went cold. Slowly, I turned my head and looked at the TV. Then, the window. The curtains were slightly open. Outside, pitch black. But that message, that wasn't a guess. He knew. He could see me. My hand started shaking. I placed the phone down on the table. Then it buzzed again, and again, and again. I looked back. Dozens of messages. All caps. "Open the door. Let me in. Open it now." My chest tightened. Tears started forming in my eyes. Then suddenly, the messages stopped. One last message appeared. Never mind. A loud bang echoed through the house, not from the door, from below, the basement. My entire body locked up. He wasn't outside. He was already inside. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, barely able to speak, crying, shaking. The operator told me to lock myself in a room And wait. I ran to my bedroom, locked the door. Then I heard it. Movement. From the basement. Footsteps. Slow at first, then faster. Coming up the stairs. Closer. I covered my mouth to stop myself from making noise. Then the basement door. The handle started rattling violently. He was trying to get through. The door shook with every push. I thought it was going to break. Then 3 loud knocks. From the front door. Police open up. I didn't think. I ran, unlocked the door, let them in. 2 officers rushed inside immediately, weapons drawn. I pointed toward the basement. Couldn't even speak properly. They moved fast, opened the door, went down. I stood there, frozen, listening. A struggle, heavy footsteps, yelling, then silence. A minute later, they brought him up. It was him, the same man, from Facebook. Dirty, breathing hard, but calm. Too calm. They took him away, asked me questions, checked the house. He had broken in through the basement window. When they asked him why he did it, he only said one thing. I just wanted to talk. That was it. No anger. No explanation. Just that. A few days later, I went through my entire friends list and deleted everyone I didn't know in real life. Because now I understood something. You don't need to share your address. You don't need to invite someone in. Sometimes, all it takes is letting the wrong person see you.